Hey everyone, welcome to the Sunday stream. Thanks for all the new members that joined. I'm going to touch on some things that I went over the week, I guess, to recap. Basically, on Tuesday, there was a Greater Sale Aquarium Society meeting, and they've been doing them virtually. So Dr. Ted Coletti, who has been around the hobby for a long time, he spoke on kind of backyard miniature ponds and that kind of stuff. He's one of the grandfathers, I would say, of the summer tubbing movement. I don't know if it's a movement, but the thing. And so it was a good talk and all of that. But a lot of people have mentioned like, hey, it's gone now. Well, yes, with a lot of club talks, the speaker won't allow it to be open to the world. Otherwise, they never get to give the talk again. And he has a book he's written. You can buy it on Amazon and all of that. But yeah, I think he lets it stay up for about 48 hours. And then it goes to member-only access. So in our club, that means not hours like Aquariumcoop, as in the Greater Sale Aquarium Society Club. You can then watch it on a DVD that you request and get mailed to you. Now, you can only be a member if you're in Washington State and all of that. So, but that's where that video went. So it's not like nothing nefarious went on. That was all planned, and that's why our club, as a member, it'll only be member only because most speakers will only do a member only talk. So, yeah. But today we're talking about my 3 secrets when it comes to keeping fish. I've talked about a lot of them before. I don't know if as in depth. I always forget, like, have I talked about that, or did I just talk about that with Dean for 6 hours straight? But so my first thing is feeding more food and more often. That's the biggest difference I see between breeders and hobbyists and just all of that. When you see a magnificent fish, or you see a lot of fish, or you see just a lot of babies growing really quickly. And that's why Dean grows fish faster than me. I just don't hatch. I don't hatch and feed out live baby brine twice a day. I do it once a day. I have auto feeders set up. I have feedings that I'll do frozen foods, but a lot of people, when they watch my videos of where I'm feeding stuff, they're like, you're grossly overfeeding. And I think we're not really registering that, an animal like that, depending on the type of fish, like a pleco wants to graze all day long, making sure that fish get food. So if you just throw some flakes or some pellets right on the top, and you have this feeding frenzy up top, what about snails? What about the plecos? What about the corridoras? What about the fish that didn't get a bite right then, and now they're losing weight, right? And so I like to make sure that there's always some food that actually hits like the bottom of the aquarium and sits there for a little bit. So I'm not scared if 20 minutes later I've got food in there. Now I know that's counter to all the fish food packaging, which I actually don't think Extreme says that, which is a kudos to them. Let's see here. Yeah, it doesn't say on the package, which I like. Most fish food packaging says like, feed as much as they can eat in about 2 minutes, and that can be very good when you're new, right? Because when you're new, you're more likely to kill fish with bad water parameters. But over a long course of time, right? Over a long course of time, you see that you can start losing weight, and you could have internal parasites, and you can have babies that are getting eaten, and all of these other adverse effects. But the first mission of most companies is to keep the first fish alive. And so what I found, one of my secrets is just feed a lot and feed often. Now, on the counter side of that, you have to watch water parameters, and you can't just go way too far. Like, you got to step it up. If today you're feeding like 4 pellets today, if you feed your betta, and this could be a good example, if you feed your betta 4 pellets and eats 4 pellets, right? Don't go to 20 pellets, because now you realize, oh, my Pocostomus and my snails and all of that, my shrimp haven't been eating. You also might have to vary it up. A lot of times, certain tanks have to get multiple types of food. So I might be getting something for up top, but then I'm trying to sneak a plankton banquet block or a pashy or wafers, something down to the bottom where the other fish can get it. So it's, you're feeding a tank and not fish. That's another barrier to kind of get over, is there's so many things to feed. Like in my shrimp tank, I feed the shrimp, but I'm also feeding the bacteria colony, and I'm also feeding the scuds, and I'm feeding all the other microfauna, right? And that goes on in every aquarium pretty much. So it's really hard, and I'll kind of get into the next, I'll explain where to get maybe better advice. Not better advice, that's not the right word. Finding advice that works better for you. That's probably the better way to say that. So my next tip is keeping your fish cooler. Now, for a lot of people, this will make sense. If you're a hardcore breeder, maybe not. But if you're just a hobbyist and you've got 5 aquariums and you want longevity out of your fish, keeping them cooler, they will live longer. So like with a live bear, like a guppy, you can get it to live as short as like 18 months or as long as like 2.5, 3 years, depending on temperature. It makes a big difference. Same with rainbow fish. If you talk to Gary Lang, he'll say, like, if you keep them hot, you got to breed them right away because they're going to stop breeding. They go through that season, that period too quickly. The other benefits you'll get, and you'll see this a lot just like in like angelfish. Keep them at like 72, 73, 74, somewhere down in there. It's not quite warm enough for them to want to breed. And so they're much more docile and they won't have babies every single week, which doesn't tax their body, you know. Imagine, we know how stressful it is for a human or maybe a dog or something like that to have a baby. Now imagine doing that every single week. That is a huge toll on a fish. And so if we can slow that down, you're going to get much more longevity out of your fish. There's going to be a lot less fighting. There's going to be just, everyone's more laid back. And that goes for most fish breed at that 78, 77, 78, 79 level, most. And there's some that need hotter and some that do it cooler. So if we cool it down a little bit, right? You cool it down a little bit, then you're still healthy. You're right under that. They're not sitting year-round in the breeding time. Where in the wild, typically, most fish get 1 to 2 breeding seasons. Like koi, you get like right at the beginning of the summer and then right at the end of the summer, right? And a lot of fish are that way around the world. And so you might, like in the Amazon, you've got the wet season, the dry season, and you've got cooler temperatures and warmer temperatures and when the breeding's going to happen, when the food's going to be available. And so that's why for most of my career now, I've heated the room. When I was new, of course, every tank needs a heater, right? You don't know any better, you're learning, right? But then you start seeing that, you might see that, oh, that heater broke and they did fine, right? Or this heater was undersized, or the heater was uncalibrated and they've been living at 70 for who knows how long and they've been doing great, right? And so as you have more and more of those experiences, you start going, well, I wonder if they even need that. And so that's why my fish room a lot of times running at about 72 degrees. Now I have to heat the room more than that, so it stays at 72. And some tanks run warmer, and if you have a tank that's really low to the ground, it's going to be cooler than one closer to the ceiling. Store works the same way, and well, not all stores. A lot of stores work that way, but there are any store that has, any store that has an insane amount of tanks, 100 plus, they really should be heating the space and not just the tanks. And now, so like at a Petco, PetSmart chain store, they're not heating the space. They're using one giant heater back in the sump, and they have all connected water. And that's its own separate, like, well, that spreads issues, of disease and that kind of stuff. But, that's why a lot of stores do that, because they don't want to heat the whole room, but they don't want to run, if you have to run 100 heaters, if you've been in the hobby long enough to have a heater break, out of 100, you might have one breaking every 2 or 3 days, and it's a whack-a-mole thing of like, what one's gone wrong, and you're constantly watching temperatures. So it's better to watch like one giant room heater, and at your home, most likely you've had a furnace, and maybe it runs 10, 15 years, kind of no problem at all. Whereas an aquarium heater, it can start having problems, as soon as a year or so. And so, you got to watch 1 or you got to watch 100, right? Or maybe it's only 6 for you, but even that's a 6-fold increase compared to a furnace or something like that. So when you can, try to heat the room, keep it cooler. People that are in, Hawaii having higher temps, it might be worthwhile to you you might pay more in electricity to run AC in that room, maybe keep the door closed and that kind of stuff so it cools down, but you might get more longevity out of your fish, right? So that's just one of my tips. My secrets are keep it cooler. I don't run into nearly as many problems of this fish is beating up that fish. I almost never have to save a fish's life because it's getting beat up. I do run community fish for the most part, but you can also see community fish really do it too. So that's really a big piece, I think, that as you get longer in the hobby, you kind of go, hey, this is working out pretty good. Do I think temperature had anything to do with male and female ratio in guppies? There's been some studies. I haven't found one that's been conclusive. There's some that also say pH has a role in it. I actually think, in general, we haven't done enough research. Is it protein content? Is it just genetics from the fish? There's so many factors that could go into what's swinging a ratio. I know there's been a study done on like Crebensis or Teniatus, that the pH will affect it. And and I know there's studies on lots of fish, but at the same time, I really wonder if it's applicable to all of them, right? And so I tend to say, just try something else. So if you're getting way too many males, try, okay, let's take a pair, let's put it over here, change it up, maybe change the food, maybe change temperature. Naturally, pH in every aquarium is different. People would say, well, I do the same thing in every tank. Well, if you have 150 fish in one tank and you have 2 fish in the other tank, as soon as you feed, the pH will be different, because as you feed food, right? As you feed, fish will eat it, they'll poop out, and then bacteria has got to process it. And processing the food waste basically creates acids in the water, and that will change it. And it's not going to be huge. You probably can't pick it up on a test kit, but over time, let's say 2, 3, 4 weeks or months, you'll start seeing pH differences. And you could also try this with an aquarium where you do no water changes, right? So let's say you've got a pH at 7.8, and you're never doing a water change. You just keep feeding and feeding, and you got plants in there, and they're pulling nutrients out. Eventually, it's going to get down to 6.8. And you might be getting, at that point, you might be getting all females, right? And so it's still a big mystery, I think. And I don't think sitting in front of a bunch of people, I could sit here and say, well, this is what's been found, and it works for more than even one species. I think there's a lot to do. And I think that we probably won't know that for many, many years. It's going to take the people that really would figure it out, I think, is the food culture fish, you know, salmon and tilapia and that kind of stuff. When I visited Israel and they were doing some food prawns, like prawns you would eat, they were using RNA, injecting it so that they would all come out the same male. They'd all come out males so that they would have more, basically, prawn meat to eat, right? And so there's a lot of research going into it, and you know, it's either A, going to be different for every fish, and we'll never know, or B, they're going to find out, okay, this is most likely to affect that, and we'll be able to transcend that into our hobby. But I don't think that exists yet. All right. Based on your travels to Europe and working with a lot of distributors, what is the main reasons for price difference between US and EU for guppies and plants? I think it's, you know, it's a much bigger, like, social issue, if you will. I think it's just, even in the United States, there's big price difference between West Coast, East Coast, Midwest. It's how much are people making? At the end of the day, I'm going to simplify this way easier. Every product, you know, let's just pick up this product right here, this extreme fish food. It's only worth what someone's willing to pay. If this is priced at $5 and no one will buy it, the manufacturer is forced to go, okay, well, let's try $4. And then if they don't want to buy it, they have to try $3. And that means they have to go back to the manufacturer and go, look, no one will buy this product. It's too expensive. So they have to find a new source. They have to find a way to make it cheaper, whatever they're going to do. And so in general, if this is $10 in the UK or Amsterdam or wherever it is, people are willing to pay that. Now, you might launch a brand new product, like it just launched in the UK, and let's say it's $10 and no one will buy it. Well, over time, it's going to go down then, right? Or they'll find ways to bring it down. In general, the way a product would launch from the United States to another country would be, if it costs $5 in the United States, or let's say Extreme makes $1 every time one of these sells. Well, when it sells in the UK, it has to make $1, except they had to ship it from the United States to the UK, and there might be tariffs and import fees and all of that and taxes, and they still got to make $1 at the end of the day when it's sold. And so with all those extra fees, like with us in Canada, like we sell Easy Green here and we sell it on Amazon, right? And we make less money on Amazon even though the price is $35 in Canada. And so it's because they charge a $5 advertising fee. They charge a picking fee, they charge a packing fee, they charge a shipping fee, they charge a percentage of what it sells for. We have to pay the duties or the import taxes when we import it into Canada. We also have to pay UPS to ship it to Canada. And so by the time all of those things happen, even though it's 35 Canadian dollars, we'll make less money than selling one for 20 US dollars here. So there's all those challenges of logistics and different trade agreements and all of that to navigate, and a lot of times it doesn't make sense, you know. So that's why I'm always pushing to go with the lowest prices so it has the most accessibility to the most people. All right, sorry for that side tangent. My third one is don't listen to the internet as a collective. Now, what that means is if everyone in the chat here says Aquarium Co-op is amazing, don't listen to them. What you want to do is you want to find someone that you like hanging out with or like talking to and listen to them and learn more about their story. So if 500 people right now say Aquariumcoop is amazing, that's not actually useful input. That's the same as saying 500 people say you have to do water changes. 500 people say you have to feed less. 500 people say you have to do these things. Instead, I look for the dean, right? I look for the dean and go, hey, I like that guy. He thinks similar to me. I'm going to ask him, hey, have you ever tried, have you ever, like Dean, something I'd ask Dean is like, look, rams are struggling in my store, which they were when we first kind of met. I had trouble with rams and apistos. And I was like, I don't get it. I keep them at 78, they're not doing that well. And in his experience, it goes, every time they get dropped low, they start having issues. And once I raised the temperature, that was true. But the internet would make you think, oh, you could do it, 78 to 82, you could do it, right? And with the apistos, it wasn't the temperature, right? And so I thought it was temperature, because I've had the same problem with both fish, the apistos and the rams, right? And so I raised the temperature with the rams, and I raised the temperature with the apistos, still was having problem. And internet would say, like, I'm doing everything just right. But in Dean's experience, his personal experience was, I was feeding too many bloodworms. He says, when I feed bloodworms, I breed a lot of these fish, they get bloated, and that's the issue. Once I took bloodworms away from everyday feeding, they did fine. And so when you find someone else that is like a one-on-one connection, let's say you pick out Dave and Aaron Woods, you can then talk to them and go, well, what's your exact experience with this? And maybe you both love guppies and you do well with them. And then you ask them like, hey, I'm trying to do zebra plecos, and they've also played with zebra plecos. Their knowledge is now a lot more applicable than the collective internet. They're like, well, I heard zebra plecos are expensive and hard to keep. Those are both true, but they're not tangible, useful information. And so, part of it is I do everything myself. And so obviously I'll read about stuff on the internet, but I also go, well, I wonder if I could do it different. I wonder if I could keep them at a different temperature. I wonder if I could feed them differently. I wonder if I could keep them with a different mix of fish. I wonder if, and when I kind of Google these questions, you can basically find everything on the internet that's been done. You can see, angelfish and frontoses being kept together. You can see goldfish and Oscars. You can see everything that's been done at some point. You don't know their success rate. You don't know if you saw a glimpse in time and the next day was a bloodbath. But when you meet people and you get their experiences over time, you go, that's so crazy that the Oscars let the one guppy live forever. And then you kind of think like, okay, well in nature that can make sense. Like big fish and small fish cohabitate a little bit. They've got hidey holes, all that. And so I really think you go further in your hobby when you spend less time trusting other people as a collective and more learning for yourself. And so, I do like to read studies and that kind of stuff, and I put some value in a scientific study, but I also know, it's the same thing when someone applies to our store and they're like, I'm a marine biologist. And I'm like, great, you know nothing about aquariums. Like, you know a lot about stuff we don't use. And scientists are kind of the same way. They can perform an experiment very well, but you don't know their qualifications of, well, how are they as like an actual aquarist and spawning this fish and doing these things? And some of them might be great, right? But you don't get that context. That's not in there of like, if Dean became a scientist, it wouldn't be like, oh, in the preamble, this is his breeding career, and that's why these results are this way. It's just purely these are the like known parameters. Here's what we're testing. Here's the results with no outside info, and we kind of know that, right? So if you just got water parameters, and it's and you're running a test, and it's someone who's brand new to fish keeping, or you have Dean doing it, or myself, or even Rob, or someone that's been working with fish a lot, you can see visual difference. So you might be like, well, scientifically they're exact same, but visually you'd be like, that one's not as happy, this one's stressed out, this is doing a thing. And so take everything with a grain of salt and basically find some fish friends that you can have one-on-one conversations that are meaningful. There's a lot of one-on-one conversations where you're almost combative, like they want to do it a different way, you don't like doing it that way. Don't talk with that person about that. If you want to do under gravel filters or you want to do whatever it is, find other people that are having success and want to do that to learn more about it. Don't come to me with the latest canister filter technology, because I don't even like canister filters that much. I might know some about them, but you might find someone else that all they run is this, and they found here's the best way to do it. And so, yeah, and every person, like Dean's great for breeding a lot of fish, but he's not great for a lot of plants, right? He's done it, but he doesn't have the same passion for plants that he does breeding fish. And so just because you have a friend that does well in aquariums, make sure you're leaning to the right thing. Like he tests a lot of foods also. Before I ever met him, he was the guy like, I order every food, every German food, every food, right? And so that's a useful skill, and he's a DIY type of guy, but he's not a guy that you'd ask for about aquascaping. Like, well, do you think I'm breaking the rule of thirds here? Do you think I'm, do you think I should put, move from a 3-stone to a 5-stone layout? Do you think I should do this? He's not that guy, right? But you could ask someone else. And same thing, I wouldn't go ask, Oliver Knott about breeding a certain fish, right? You might ask him for scaping and what he's found to grow well and easy and that stuff. So build yourself a little army, a little friends that you can have meaningful conversations. Take everything you get from the internet with a grain of salt. That's why you can have, 10 different YouTube videos. All of us have a different opinion on whatever we're talking about, whether it's filtration or foods or breeding fish, because it's that one person thing. And the collective internet, that's why I can make any statement of like, Reese's peanut butter cups are good, and there's 50% people, no, you're terrible, you're wrong, right? So everything, there's a counter to it. So if I love sponge filters, there's someone who hates them. For someone who loves canister filters, I hate them, right? I still have to use them from time to time. That doesn't mean I have to like them. So those are my 3 kind of secrets that make my hobby a lot easier of talking to people, feeding more, and keeping things cooler. Those have been my secrets. I mean, there's always more secrets. I'm sure I'll think of more as time goes on, but yeah. Thank you to all the new members that joined. How's the light testing going? Light testing is going well. We finally got our lights in from FedEx, and I've got some set up on a new tank, which you guys will see coming up. And we're doing more testing still. This round is, in theory, more water resistant. I got to be careful not to say waterproof, because if water gets in and I say waterproof, then I'm in trouble. Highly water resistant is what we're going for, because I'm not sure that 3 days water goes in, or 30 minutes, right? So testing's going well. We got the latest round of them. We got like another 36 lights. Got some into Robert's hands, getting some more into more people's hands. This time we got 4-footers and 3-footers, which we were only making 2-footers because they ship cheaper, and so you're extending it, but you want to make sure we're not going to overdrive a ballast or anything like that. So testing is still going well. That's what I can say there. It just arrived Thursday with our container, which, by the way, we have a new product. We have the Aquariumcoop feeder. You saw that in a video because I've been using it for a while. We had gotten our test samples and all of that. And I want to tell you guys a story about this. So first, let me tell you why it's awesome. It's got a rechargeable lithium-ion battery in it. So you can do a couple things. So one, depending on how many times a day you have it feeding, you could have it feed up to 4 different times a day. You can have the barrel rotate up to 3 times. So if you really just want to dump a ton of food in, so based on how many times you make that barrel rotate is, could it last 3 months or can it last 6 months between a charge? Now, let's say you have a permanent setup. You can just plug in the USB here and keep this plugged in forever. Right? So now you have a plug-in auto feeder. If you guys remember back to old live streams, these are things I was looking for. Like, why isn't there one that can always stay plugged in? I don't even want to have to recharge or switch batteries. And the lithium-ion battery, I think, is a good compromise with that, because you can keep it charged in full time, or 6 months. 6 months is a long time for a lot of people. Like, twice a year I got to charge this thing, and you just do it when it gets low. If you go look on the website, which I'll show you in a little bit, got a little battery indicator. So yeah, I like it. Oh, and the other thing I really liked about this, so like Eheim feeders or maybe old feeders you're used to, you had to pull the drum off, right? And you had to pull this part off to fill it. And so when that's mounted on an aquarium for me, that's a pain in the butt. So with this one, you actually have this extra trap door. Oh, I hit the feed button, hold on. So it's a very slow methodical turn. Come on. So there's this extra trap door up here. So this is this little one right here. That's the food, how much food comes out. But this bigger trap door, this is for refilling. So it's sitting on your aquarium. You just pour in all your food right up here, close the trap door, and then you've still got your feeding door, right? So I like that. So when I have to do, 100 of them or 50 of them in there, you're just pouring the food in, moving to the next one, closing the trap door. That's nice. I like that. The other thing we did, we changed, we made the instructions way better. So that was the instructions that came. So we, Aquarium co-opted the instructions to make, nice legible instructions that hopefully that we got right the first round. We've put people to go through it without having, without having any problems. We also changed it so it was a 12-hour format. So instead of being 24 hours, it was 12 hours because I like 12-hour and having to go, wait, I want to feed at 4 o'clock, 1,600 hours. Okay, let me do that. I just like it in the 12-hour format. And then the story I want to tell you is when we started working with this product, there was only one of them that was out on the internet. And now everyone and their mom is selling this product. So I want to tell you the story of how Aquarium Co-op looks like such a copycat. So that you'll know, like, okay, I get why we don't leak products early because people will jump on it. And I'm not saying that people saw what we were doing and jumped on it. I don't think that happened at all with this product. But I think a lot of people went, hey, this is a great product. I want to start carrying this. And so I'll go through kind of that story here. We'll go to our website first. So go to the website. So here we are on our website. They're $25, right? And here you can see all the glamour shots and everything. And there's instructions and all of that. And we have 1 4-star review. And so there it is. I should mention, because they have the lithium-ion batteries, we can only sell up to 2 at a time, right? And it's because if you order plants or meds or anything that needs to ship quickly, and we ship everything quickly, we don't have a ship slow version. But once it goes into an airplane, you have to limit the amount of lithium-ion batteries. So that's why you can only get 2. It's not some giant scam we're running to try and get like you to place more orders or anything like that. We have to put stickers on them. We have to identify them. We have to do all this extra work actually to ship these. But that's the reason, because a lot of people are like, oh, you're trying to do a thing. Like, trust me, I wish I could. If you want to buy 10 of these, I would gladly sell you 10, but I can't. I can sell you 2 at a time. And it doesn't make sense for the environment if we let you buy 4 and we have to split them into different boxes. 1, we're going to lose a bunch of money. But 2, it's going to destroy the environment if we're just like, oh, that extra box, all it has is these, instead of being efficient and trying to fit other stuff in. So, and on our workflow, it just wasn't going to work very well. So that's where we ended up. But back to the story of the auto feeders. So let me go to here. We type in fish feeder in Amazon. So here's one that looks mighty similar to ours. Here's one that looks mighty similar to ours. We tested this one too, mighty similar to ours, right? Mighty similar, mighty similar. Now what I want to show you is the Aquarium Co-op difference. So 1, we have a 1-year warranty on these, where I don't know if any of these have with the manufacturers, but with Amazon you're getting 30 days, right? Because that's when you can return it. Now, the one I want to bring up, like, these are all, in my opinion, because I don't know them. I don't know these brands, right? I don't know Barkmew or Nudoki, right? I don't know those. But one I did know was Nicrew, right? Because they make lights, right? So that's kind of in the hobby. We kind of know like Nicrew, like, okay. So I was like, all right, we got to see what's our competition like. Like, dang it, we have competition on basically the same thing. So I click in and it's $23.99. I'm like, dang, they're beating us by $1. Well, that's not good, right? But the big difference is right here. It's not the lithium-ion battery. You have to put your own batteries in. And I just think that is way worse. The fact that you can't plug it in and keep it plugged in all the time. The fact you can't go 6 months on a charge. And for $1 less, like, I'm just like, oh man. And we had those options, by the way. We chose, like, in everything Aquarium Co-op does, we choose to do the best version of something possible. So we had the option, save money, like not putting lithium-ion batteries in, cheaper to ship to America, cheaper to ship out to you guys. All of these things became easier, but I didn't think that was a better product. So with this one, with the Nicrew one, it's very similar, but they also have, I think it shows here somewhere, but they also have the 24-hour instead of the 12-hour. So it's not a huge difference. Like if you bought this, it's not going to be a game ender, right? But I think everyone would rather have USB. So, and a lot of them are like that, because I was clicking on them going, well, what is this one? This one's similar, and then same thing, this one's going to have batteries. Yep, right here, batteries. So almost all of them, and I say almost, like this one here, this is USB, but it's $26.99, so it's $1 more than ours and doesn't come with a year warranty, right? And the USB is placed in a different area. Maybe that USB will be better for you. $26.47, and so then I want to show you. So what am I trying to say? These are kind of lesser known companies, right? then there's known companies that have also adopted this kind of similar at the same time, right? So then we go to Lifeguard's new auto feeder. Lifeguard Aquatics. They sell this everywhere for basically $50. It's literally twice the price. And that kind of shows, in my opinion, kind of the underbelly of the industry of, we try to go, okay, how can we make money at a reasonable thing, where there are companies that go, okay, great, let's just adopt this. People that like our brand will pay anything. Well, not anything, but $50. And to be fair, I have not tried this myself. I have not paid $50 for this thing, but in every way, it looks to be the exact same. Like it looks identical outside of, it has a white face instead of a black face there, and their button says manual instead of feed, and they have set instead of this gear. That being said, the good news is all of these feeders have good reviews, but when we started this project, there was only one person selling it that we could find on the internet, and now there's a bunch. And so now we just look like a me too, but ours, you know, at least is like, it's like this, right? It's got the lithium ion battery. Instead of $50, it's $25, $24.99, and we give the warranty. So yeah, that's the story of that. And the other thing I can tell you is shipping has gone absolutely insane. And what I mean by that is, so if we rewind like pre-COVID and all of that, shipping a cargo container, like a 40-foot cargo container, was like $2,500, right? That was the cost to put it on a boat and float it over. That's not the tariffs and paying for the product and all that. Just the cost of renting a container and moving it. Now, unfortunately, the prices with COVID have gone up. You hear about delays and shortages and all of that. Well, all of that has, so many companies didn't continue to order when they were running out of supplies that everyone's trying to order right now. And there's a shortage worldwide. And so, like this shipment that we just got in, that we unloaded this week, was like $5,000 to ship. And you're going, okay, twice as much, that's not so bad, right? But we have to place an order like 3 months in advance. So 3 months ago, the cost was $5,000, right? And we keep putting more products on the ocean to come over, right, that we have made, whether it's from Vietnam or China or other countries, right? And so the latest quotes we've been getting, this was last week now, because this was Monday and Tuesday of last week, a 20-foot container that we wanted to bring over. A 20-foot container, the quote was now $12,000. So not 40-foot. 40-foot we were paying $5,000, and way back $2,500. Now it was half as much, so shrink it down, and the cost is now $12,000. Then a day later, we got a price quote on the 40-footer. And the 40-footer price was now $15,000, right? So right now, everything is traveling at a premium, and there's lots of articles written about it. And why am I telling you all of this? Because on the feeders we were just showing you, it used to be we were all gonna, like, they launched. So they actually launched faster than we did because we were still doing R&D development and changing things, right? So in the last month, a bunch of them, like last couple months, a bunch of them released, and they were like $18.99, $17.99, $19.99, and then this latest increase hit, and now they're all like $25 and up. And so it's having a dramatic effect on everything in the world, really. So much so that another product we had come in, we're not going to sell online. And I'm not even sure we're going to continue to carry, and that was our brine shrimp salt. So we developed the packaging, and we do everything, and now we've got brine shrimp salt. That's great. And we ordered in 800 bags, or like 15-pound bags of salt. And that's why we're getting the quote of, the salt is so heavy that you can't put a 40-foot container of salt. So we can do 20 feet, because it's so heavy, you can only go so heavy in those containers. And that was going to be $12,000 to ship. Well, as you can imagine, shipping a big bag of salt is like shipping gravel. Once it even got here, and now we got to ship it to you, it's very expensive to ship to your home. And so basically what happened is, from the price, at the time we started working on this, the price to move a container was $2,500. Now, that container is $15,000. And we were only going to make, with something heavy like that, like $2 or $3 a bag to ship. The problem is, we would lose money with every bag we ship. So we have 800 bags of salt, It's sitting in our warehouse, and I think we just have to sell it at the retail store so that we don't lose money. Like, luckily this one we didn't pay it, but we didn't pay the 15K, but we can't afford to restock it. And so we don't want to have this like online launch, everyone likes it, and then, oh, we can't carry it anymore. So we're hoping that everything comes back down, right? Now the good news is a lot of our products are small, right? But the ones that are the most brutal are like our sponge filters and that kind of stuff. They take a lot of space in the cargo containers. But things like test strips and I don't know, I don't have any more products. Like these feeders, they're not that big. It did affect it, but it's not that big. So that you're gonna, we've been out, not we, the world has been out of products for a long time. You're gonna see a lot of products maybe never come back or sit out of stock because they were so close margin-wise, it no longer makes sense to bring them in. And you might start getting charged for things. Like imagine, the thing I keep thinking about and how this is all going to affect all of us is, maybe you go to a Chinese restaurant and they give you chopsticks for free. If those chopsticks are coming on a cargo container, they went from being fairly cheap, I would assume, right? Where now the shipping's $15,000. Maybe they have to raise the price of food, or maybe they have to charge for chopsticks, or whatever it's going to be. And as things are like a domino effect, right? If there's less people now paying that fee or whatever, then they're not making as much money, which means the employees don't make as much money, which means they're not buying as much other stuff. And so it's a sticky situation. We're hoping that this is just the summer, like, okay, everyone catches back up and then it goes back down. But right now it's really hard to pull the trigger knowing that, does it still make sense? We're doing lots of analysis of like, does this even make sense? We don't want to raise our prices. We're trying very hard not to raise any prices. But we're seeing how can we possibly navigate this right now. And we're getting price increases from vendors like Fluval, raise prices, Phoenix raise prices. And it's, it's just what it is. And right now everyone's got to play by the same boat, or same book. And we'll see where it goes. All right. I have a business question for you. Are there standard markups in the aquarium store market? Fish cost of goods sold versus dry cost of goods sold? Kind of. Everyone's got their own thing. Like I've seen some stores that do like 5x on fish where it's like, woof, right? Typically what we do, we try and double our money on a dry good, and we try and triple our money on a live good, right? Now, lots of things. So what does that mean? So it doesn't sound like we're just making tons of money, right? So the goal is, by the time we've shipped this product, provided customer service, right? Any defects or any lost ones in the mail, we've covered that, right? Anything that could go wrong after, let's say you had, we had 1,400 of these. So our goal would be 1,400, right? We got to pay X to buy them. We got to pay X to ship them to us. We have to pay 25% tariff on top of that, right? Then we have to pay employees to put them away, pay employees to basically pick them and pack them and ship them. Then we pay shipping, right? Then we pay any customer service, Candy. We pay Candy in case I had a question about this, or hey, how does this work? Or before I buy it, I have a question. Or got lost in the mail, we have to reship it again, right? That's more shipping or in customer service time. By the time all those things are done, these 1,400 used at the end, the goal would be that, ideally we would double our money, but that'll never happen. So it's not a doubling. It's more like we make, after everything's done, a profitable company like Aquariumcoop, we'd be doing really well if after every employee got paid and everything that we had, we made 10%. So after all that's done, if there was still $2.50 sitting in the bank after selling this, we would have done really, really well. Now, that doesn't just land in Corey's pockets. Some of it does, for sure. Some of it does, right? But that also pays for the 800-gallon aquarium, this place. It pays for, we want to launch the next product. Oh, all those lights that are going to cost like $100,000 to launch. We got to sell these to do that. And so with fish are a little bit different, and plants are a little different. You buy it, you ship it in, all of that. So you still have all the same other costs, except when this sits there, if no one's buying it, it just sits there. And it's still good. But a plant, it might get too big. It could die, or a fish could die. It could also make more, right? But in general, there's a lot more care. Someone doesn't have to feed the auto feeder every day, right? They don't have to clean up after. They don't have to do all those things. They don't have to have it underwater. They don't have to heat it. They don't have to have all those things going on. So you basically have to triple it so that you can afford to pay people to take care of it and the space to take care of it, the rent, the extra space, all of that. So it does work, but that's why we focus on trying to hire really skilled people to bring labor costs down, whether it's a fish or a dry good. The more efficient we make ourselves, and that's usually what we try and do. So when we get a price increase, the first thing we do is go, can we bear the weight of this, right? Can we get more efficient somewhere? Can we buy a conveyor belt? Can we get a better scanner? What can we do? What can we do to keep the price of this where it's at and not go up? And then if we can't do that, then we will up the price. But usually we're getting fewer and fewer options do we have. Another example of that would have been our brine shrimp, which I have sitting back over there, off camera apparently. We were actually trying to get a 1 pound can because that's what people want. They want a bigger can to save more money because, as we know, buy a bigger thing, you should save some. Well, we go to them and we go, hey, what can we do about this? And they say, well, oddly enough, we were about to increase the price for you. Oh, good. So we negotiate, and basically we were able to negotiate to keep the price the same. We'll buy more at a time. We have to buy like $60,000 worth of brine shrimp at a time now. It's a lot. And that, I don't even, like we're worried about that right now because it takes a refrigerated cargo container. So if a normal one's 15 grand, what is a refrigerated one going to cost? I don't know. So we're worried about that. But anyway, the price won't have to go up at least. So even though everything's going up in the world, brine shrimp won't have to go up. Now, there's no discount left on the table to go, well, if we buy it, and if you put it in a pound can, and really when you're coming to a manufacturer, like you're coming to us like, well, can you do more work? Can you put it in another can and then give me a discount? And the thing is, like, we're saying, well, we'll sell more. And they're like, great, except, like, that doesn't really matter. Like, the cost. They've already gotten to the point where they can't get it any cheaper. And so we can't get it any cheaper. So it's not the best, not the best story to the customer of, like, we tried really hard. But that's the reality of it. Like, well, and that's not to say in 2 years or a year or a month or whatever, everything can come way back down. And then we might be able to, we made it work. We finally made it work because everything else worked. But at a certain point, like if Extreme wants to sell something for cheaper, but the cost doesn't go down for shipping it, it's just never going to work. But if shipping goes down, it could work. Or they find a new source. There's only so many levers to pull on with a product. And after you've pulled them all and it didn't move, it's kind of stuck. All right. Can I look at my question I posted at 12:13? Well, I don't have any timestamps, so it's unlikely. If I see it, I will try and answer it for you, Nancy. So and by the way, you're best off repeating your question instead of trying to say, go find it. And that's not a dig at anyone. That's just, I read them as I see them. And if it was the same question, there's a chance I could actually answer it. So I'm scrolling and I am just lost. So hopefully re-ask that again, Nancy, and I will try and answer it. Yeah, I cannot find it. I see your super chat. Super sticker. That's nice. Thank you. Does I store or buy fish from hobbyists? I just have my cribs breed and the fry are about 1 centimeter long. How big should they be before I sell them? We do buy some. Usually you want to be in the size you would have bought them from a store. So that might be at least, that 1.5 to 2 inch range. If it's less than that, it's going to be hard for them to sell. And that's the thing is, like, a lot of people want to sell them early. Fish aren't that hard to breed, at least for us. We're paying you to grow them. Like, you need to do the work. And so if you're like, people don't do the work, it's like, why are we're not paying very much, right? So usually there's a sweet spot of like, get them to where they sell them there. If you keep growing them past that, they don't sell any faster really. And it's costing you more money to raise them. You just gave the best explanation why involve a cost running a business I've heard in years. Yeah, there's a lot to it, but yeah, right now it's all availability and my mantra in the business right now is let's keep it in stock. If we have to raise the price, we'll raise the price. But it's better to be too expensive and have it than we're cheaper but don't have it. Like, you're not cheaper if you don't have it. You're not actually selling anything cheaper if you don't have it, right? So the directive is let's do everything we can to not raise prices, but also let's not run out of stuff. Let's see here. All right, here's what I want you guys to do. I want you guys to come up with, hopefully Nancy will bring her question. You guys come up with some good questions. I forgot to use the restroom before I went live, and I am dying. And I'm like, okay, I got an hour and 15 minutes. I'll be back in like 3 minutes. I just got to go to the bathroom real quick. So I'll be right, oh no, I got to take the mic off. I'll be back super quick. Right here. I'm back, and my hands smell like a nice mahogany teak wood. My hand soap. All right, I did remember to take the mic off. I've ripped that thing out a couple of times. Been in a meeting and like went way too long. I gotta pee, and then like, whoa, I'm tethered. All right, I'm looking for Nancy's question. How can I not find her question? Okay, if a mod sees it. Let me see if they've already sent it. If a mod sees it, copy, wait, right here. Is it a good idea to keep hair algae in your moss? Will that help season a tank? How do you grow microfauna in your tank to help feed nanofish? Okay, that's a good question. So it is fairly common to get hair algae growing in moss. And it's not necessarily the look everyone's going for, but the more dense something is, and hair algae is pretty dense, the more things can hide in it. And so that might be baby fish eggs, that might be seed shrimp and other little things. If you're purely asking from, would this harbor more little critters? The answer is yes, it would. But you might be able to get like, could I get 98% of many critters if I didn't have that? Yes. But in a seasoned aquarium, I'm big on let everything grow. Let everything grow and just mature in and really get it going, and then come back and start manicuring the look you want. Like, okay, I would rather not have that. Maybe I put this in. Maybe I do that. Maybe I get some mono shrimp. Maybe I do this. I'd much rather have it fully seeded, if you will. Can I put plants in my stable tank that came from a tank with a bad viral and bacterial infection? I would say after about 2 weeks you could. I've never actually gotten fish sick from moving plants. However, I don't willingly do that. So if I have sick fish in one tank, I'm not gonna be like, I'm gonna go put this in right now. That makes sense. It doesn't make sense to me. So I would wait till those fish are healthy, or if they all died. If that's the case for you, I would wait like a couple weeks after that, and then I would try moving them. Yeah. If you were like crazy paranoid about that kind of stuff, which I don't recommend you are or should be, you could take those plants and start growing them immersed back out of water, put them in a super humid tank with like just maybe dirt, and you're misting it every day. That would, in theory, have all the bacteria die off, but then you'd have to reconvert them. So that's a lot of work. I'm from Europe and have some friends in research on fish topics like evolution and schooling behavior. They would be interesting speakers. Can I somehow email you their details? You can contact us on the website, and that email will get forwarded to Zenzo, and then he can, basically what we're doing is interviewing people, like how good are you on camera? Are you, is your internet connection stable? All of that kind of stuff. And then we're lining people up. The latest one we lined up, I'm actually pretty excited about. It's going to be a talk on marmorids, which that's fancy words of saying like elephant nose, baby whales, that kind of stuff. And this is a guy that Zenzo's seen speaks, is a super good speaker and all of that. And the talk was super interesting. So I'm excited because I've never seen a talk on that yet. I've never even seen one listed. So I think that one, we're building out an events calendar right now. I've already started on it. But we're waiting for people's pictures and stuff to fill out the information. That'll be coming online, my guess, in the next couple of weeks. And then we'll let you guys know. So that way you got a calendar that you can see like, oh, the event's here, here's what it's about, here's this, here's this, here's this. But I think that one's going to be like in October. So we're trying to line up good speakers that we want as fast as we can for like the end of the year, till the end of the year. So, but we won't just take anyone, right? And, like our first two, I've seen them both speak multiple times, and they're very good speakers. They're very intellectual. So both Jeanne and Eric have degrees. They, work in universities and doing lots of what they do. And someone did kind of poo-poo on Jeanne, like, there's a YouTube channel. It's like, yeah, she doesn't do YouTube anymore, but she's an amazing speaker. She is an international beta judge, and she's very passionate about the hobby. All of those are good things, and very personable in front of a camera, and she does lots of Zoom meetings to teach her classes and everything. So she's going to be fully well-versed, right? You got to remember all the skill sets that are going to go into this. It's different than an in-person talk. You can get someone, maybe like a Heiko Blair, I don't know, but maybe like a Heiko Blair is not a wizard when it comes to Zoom meetings or whatever it's going to, that's not the stuff we're using, but like that feel, right? So we have to get, how do we get a good presentation and a smooth presentation? One of the things is making sure our guest is adept at giving a presentation online so that it doesn't just break down there. So, whereas like a Heiko Blair, if we were going to do that, it'd be more of an in-person thing. Like, hey, let's get them here and make sure we're controlling all the camera and that kind of stuff. We'll be able to get Gary Lang. I don't know if we've reached out yet. He's definitely on the list. We're still compiling a giant list, and we're trying to build it out over the course of like a couple of years of, you don't just want like, oh, look, it's Jeanne every 3 months or Dean every 3 months, anything like that. You're like, okay, let's try to put a very comprehensive talk list together, and, we're playing it by ear. It's still like we're starting. The reason Jeanne is the starting one is because if something goes wrong, Zenzo can drive to her house and fix it. Right? And Eric is also in California. Like, we want to make sure this launch is really good and works for you guys. And if something goes wrong, we're going to fix it. And then we can branch out to, okay, well, what about time differences? What about, we're buying equipment for each person to speak. We're paying them. We're doing all these things. And we'll learn. Each meeting should get better. That's the thing. If it doesn't, then, there's a chance we get it perfectly right the first time. But I bet you we'll learn a lot. How hot is it to how hot is too hot to safely order fish online? So that's one of the reasons I don't ship fish. It's really hard. Like right now, maybe it's 70 in Washington, and maybe you're in, let's say, Alabama, and maybe it's 80 there. But the plane might like land in Texas, unload the cargo, cooks to death, and then ships to Alabama. So the more, like I still ordered fish last week. I got 3 new species in for the fish room. In my personal opinion, you should just ask the seller. Because each seller has got their own stuff they're going to do. Maybe they're going to use ice packs. Maybe they'll ship to you, but only overnight. Maybe they've got lots of insulation that will prevent it, right? Maybe they're going to oversize the box, because that's some of the things you can do, right? You could, like if you got a fish this big, if you put it in a box this big, it's going to heat up faster. But if you put it in a box this big and it's full of water, it's going to take a lot longer to heat up, right? So I think you just kind of converse with the seller and get reasonable expectations. If they're not willing to guarantee it and you're a little dicey about it, then don't, right? You don't want to lose your money. And usually if someone's willing to guarantee a shipment, then they expect that it's going to actually arrive alive, right? So that's one of the telltale signs there. But there's a lot of people, a lot of businesses that they make their living off shipping fish, right? And so they naturally have to find a way to ship during the hotter months. And so most professionals can. It can be done. It just usually costs more to do it, like with anything, right? Like, oh, with adversity, you got to overcome it. I'm considering bringing tiger barbs. I've heard your advice to use marbles as substrate. Any other tips? I mean, that's just how you breed most egg scatterers. You can also do a fake false bottom where you use like a egg diffuser, not egg diffuser, a light diffuser, or egg crate as sometimes they call it, but lighting diffuser. Basically, you need the eggs to fall through, and then the adults or other fish and snails can't come eat them. Then from there, you got to raise some microscopic fish. So if I was doing it, I'd probably Google a little bit. I know that like Ted Judy and Mike Helwig both did them in their breeding race they were doing, so there's probably some extra tips there. Yeah, I haven't specifically spawned that, so I can't give you like the extra tip of like, here's the little secret I found when doing that. Where do we access the club speakers? The community tab here, or on the forum, or Facebook? So it's going to live on the website. So basically, all the information, once we're building it out, is going to live on the website. And there'll be a speaker calendar. We need to build out a page of like, what are the benefits for becoming a member? And, you know, there's other things that you're going to have to like, I don't want to say sign up, but like merge your YouTube account. Like you'll have to merge your YouTube account with our store account. Even if you don't live in the United States, you still make an account, and once you merge up, you'll be able to use some of these features. Like, for instance, the only way we'll be able to do the breeder reward program, you'll have to be able to log into our website. Otherwise, anyone could submit spam, or they could submit things even though they're not in the club. So you'll have to have like an account, even if you can't buy from us. But all that integration is still being built. It's on the list to do. They're knocking things out one at a time. We've got YouTube working on it. The YouTube integration is moving along, but it's not in place yet. So the first test is good. Now they're moving forward. How long can I expect the nitrite phase to last when cycling? It's been 2 to 3 weeks with regular water changes, but it's still high, and it's a planted tank. So I would recommend you just don't water change, unless you got fish, I guess, right? But my first question is like, where are the nitrites coming from? If they're coming from you're dosing ammonia or something, I would just stop dosing ammonia and let the tank and start growing, fertilize the tank with normal fertilizer, and let everything just settle out. But without more information, it's hard to say like, well, how long is it going to take? Don't know what the source is yet. Easiest egg scattering, small to medium fish. I think the easiest by far in my opinion, are white clouds. After that, it would probably be Norman lampi killies and clown killifish, and then after that, probably cherry barbs. I've done the first 3. I haven't done cherry barbs myself yet, but I've set up a lot of kids to do it because they've done those. And I was like, here, I know this is the next easiest one, and they've had a lot of success. If you can do white clouds, you'll be able to do cherry barbs. A Nurem aquascaping contest, it's not out of the possibility. The problem is I have to look into the legality if we can offer any prizes or anything. It gets really weird with like a lottery / that kind of stuff. We can definitely give something to everyone, but when it's only select people, we can't. So I have to You know, like, is it everyone in the aquascaping contest? Is it no prize, or everyone gets the same prize, right? That type of thing. Zenzo's still working on all that stuff. We're still making sure that we're not gonna boggle this whole thing up. You know, we got to make sure that it's not from a lack of us being willing to give stuff away. It's I don't want to have to get a lawyer involved. Like, you gave away an auto feeder, oh, you go 20 grand to the state of Arizona now because they're angry. You're gambling. Like, oh no. Ever open a canister filter to clean it and find a ton of fry? I haven't found a ton of fry. I found shrimp and I found snails, but I actually haven't found, I mean, I found like one fry in there before, but I've never had that, like, who knew it was a whole spawn of Oscars in here? I haven't had that surprise yet. But I also don't use that many canisters, and I don't have Oscars, so. Auto feeder question. Can battery be replaced eventually, or just run it plugged in? Eventually the battery goes out. I can't remember. I have to take it apart again. I think it's soldered in. So technically you could buy new lithium-ion batteries and you could solder them in. But I think the better thing is, like, just keep it plugged in, right? Yeah. Well, so the other thing is too, there's still other things I want to do. Like, I want to build a bigger drum. So that was one of my things I wanted to do right from the beginning. It was like, let's make this drum bigger. But I wanted to launch an auto feeder because we didn't have one. So that was one of the pressing issues. And I was like, we cannot afford to have something not work. Like, after our last auto feeder, when it had a 5% defect rate, like, I really want better than that this time. And so I was worried that, like, what if we made this drum this long, right? So now it's twice as big, holds twice as much food, which for me is great in my totes. In big aquariums, right? If you have Oscars and arowanas and all that, you need a big hopper. But I was worried that, what if I extend it and when it's full, it causes a little bit more force, or it is hard on the motor and that kind of stuff. So the plan is, long term, not right away, long term, is to offer like a barrel upgrade if you wanted one. And then we can talk with the manufacturer and go, hey, what is the option? Can we, and maybe the ones in the future, maybe there will be a replaceable lithium-ion battery, right? For right now, we're just trying to get something that works reasonably well and learn from it, right? We learned you guys hate the green one, so we went with black. There's also the other thing that comes in here that I didn't mention earlier. Comes with a sticky pad. Because maybe your aquarium, the way you want to use it wouldn't be on the rim. You can just pull this off and put this sticky pad underneath. Like if you have an acrylic aquarium, boom, now it can feed. So there we are. Is the auto feeder better at dispensing pellets and flakes? Yes. Every feeder is going to be better at dispensing something that's uniform size instead of variable size. Like if you really want to use flake, use like the Tetra Color Crisps. They're all uniform, which I still want someone else to make Color Crisp type of food because I like that feeding style, I guess. Always fill the German Blue Rams with my super hard water. Do you recommend mixing with distilled or RO water to try and keep my dream fish? Or giving up to prevent more fish death? That's hard. I mean, if it's truly, truly your dream fish, you shouldn't give it up. But I probably would, what would I do if I actually was trying to accomplish? I would buy an RO unit or at least go buy RO water from a store. And then I would get it to where you want it, and then like not change water. Use live plants and just keep letting it get more and more and more acidic. Breed them a few times, and then when you go to do a water change, find like it's gotten too low in hardness and everything. Then I would use some more mix of your tap water and RO water to just manage it. That being said, a lot of times after you've kept a fish for maybe a year and bred it or whatever you're going to do, it's not as magical anymore. And so then you might go, well, I've done it. Maybe that work isn't worth it for me now, right? But maybe it is, and maybe you do that forever. So, but if it's truly your like, if you really want something you can't get out of your mind, it's not just going to go away. So I would find success. You could also look for, maybe you're buying some rams out of Florida where they're like, what is it? I can't remember the guy's name, but likely to be harder water there. So, how about a double chamber for 2 types of fish food? That just seems like too much work. If you need to feed 2 types of food, just mix them, right? Like if I needed these pellets and Hikari Vibrobites, just mix them and then put them in. Right. So Kenneth says, as long as I don't make it members only, I'm okay. That's yes. If I make it free to enter something, yes, we can do that. That is legal to do. However, it then just like it's no longer a NERM only thing, right? And it's always so part of the problem is like we're gonna do an aquascaping contest, and now like 1,000 like there will be 100 people to enter, but there's gonna be 1,000 people that bombard Canyon. What's the rules? Someone's breaking the rule. This here, this that, and it's like you've made this not enjoyable for anyone involved anymore. So yeah. How hard are Discus to really keep? Not that hard. I actually don't think they're very difficult, especially wild-caught ones. I actually don't think there's many fish that are actually difficult to keep. There might be some that don't suit your style of fish keeping or your water parameters naturally or your budget. Like most people are like, as price on fish go up, they go, it must be more hard to keep. Like, no, it's just harder to catch in the wild, and it's probably wild caught, and that's why it's more expensive. A lot of things, like once you get to a certain point, like once you're proficient in fish keeping, most fish are just the same. Yeah, and that's why stores can do it and fish rooms can do it. Like they basically run all the tanks the same way, and you'll learn what does well in your water, what doesn't do on your water. You know, maybe you don't put the brand new employee like taking care of that. Someone that knows not to way overfeed. Yeah. And I know I said feed a lot, but you know, it's all these things you learn. Like, okay, they have meds in right now, don't feed them, or feed them very sparingly, or oh, their bellies are sunken and you have to feed them or they're going to die. You need to know some of these things. But in general, average Discus, not that hard. It's actually harder to get Discus healthy from a wholesaler or a store than it is to, once you have them keep them. Because a lot of times they're not being fed enough and they're being kept in hot water and they're overcrowded and all of that. Once you're actually keeping them and you're not overcrowding, you're feeding well, water quality is good, all of that, and there's not like Discus coming in and out. Like for us, it's pretty easy because we bring in a batch of Discus, kind of a batch of Discus, where I'll never understand, and you know, this would be on the Fish Store Nightmare show or whatever, you know. When you go to a wholesaler, you can see other stores that are ordering, and there are stores, and I'm not going to name any because it won't make a difference to you, but let's say stores that carry all kinds of pets, right? A lot of times they'll have someone ordering that is not a fish person. And so you'll literally see it like they ordered 2 of every tetra. And their plan is to put all of those tetras in the same tank, and someone will go, ooh, I want the 2 rummy nose, I want the 2 skirt tetras, I want the 2 emperor tetras. But when you take 2 of like 15 different types of tetras, right, from a wholesale facility, and you cram them into one tank, you've got a lot of different personalities, a lot of chances for disease, and so you wouldn't even have a chance for that. And that extends to Discus. A lot of times, Discus are expensive to a smaller store, right? And so they're going to go, well, we'll take 2 Discus. You can get bullying going on, and then someone might buy one, right? Because they'll sell them just one, even though you should keep them in a group. Then they'll buy 2 more. So now I got 3 in there, right? And now they might be from a different batch. And so that one that was maybe getting bullied was still there. Now he's still the runt. So he brought 2 more in. They were being fed at the wholesaler. Maybe they're getting more food. And so now this runt is still the runt. Someone buys those 2 because they look good and the other one doesn't look as good. Now they buy 2 more, right? And so this one's always going to be a runt. And then maybe you're like, well, internet says I should buy 6, so I'm going to buy all 3. And now you've got 2 that are pretty healthy and 1 that's really not that healthy anymore. And you start struggling and you're trying to feed that one up, and maybe water quality goes a little bit south. And so now they're all not doing so well. Like, but in general, if you just get some normal healthy Discus and then you try and keep them, usually you're pretty successful if you keep them warm and you feed them pretty well. All right. I mean, wait, I've been using Easy Green alongside because of my red plants. I'm missing the other part of that. I know Excel is an algicide, but it's supposed to be close to CO2 as well. That's not true. It is an organic carbon source, but it is not anything like gas CO2. Like these peanuts here. As they break down, they're organic carbon sources. However, they're not anywhere near to gas CO2, right? So that's why it's a chemical, it's an algaecide. It does not replace gas CO2 for aquarium plants. Now, one of the biggest things people should realize is you have CO2 in your aquarium. Your fish release it, your plants release it at night. It's in the normal air we breathe, and so it's naturally getting into your water anyway. The biggest misconception I think that exists in the hobby right now, or one of the biggest, is that you have to have CO2 injection to have plants do well. That's not the case. You need plants to do well need to not run out of CO2. So if you have 2 parts per million CO2 in your aquarium water right now, and if you inject CO2, you can get to 30 parts per million CO2. That makes no difference unless your plants were going to consume more than 2 parts per million, which a lot of them will. But for a lot of plants, or maybe you only have 1 plant in there, or maybe you just have a lot of slow-growing plants, they'll have all the CO2 they basically ever need. So, yeah, I think early on, I think where we went wrong in the hobby, we fell in love with plants. Plant nerds started keeping lots of plants, right? Too many. Then they started getting algae and growth issues and all of that. And then when they added injected CO2, the problems went away. So then it became the mantra, plants need injected CO2 to do well. Where really, it's not that they need that, it's that they need to not be overwhelmed. So if I take that out, right? So if you want to keep 1 dog in your household, not so bad. Easy enough, right? You've got enough food, you can give them a scrap off your plate, you give them a little bowl of food, not a problem, right? Like easy peasy. Now you got 11 dogs, right? Now, Bowser over here is eating 3 bowls worth of food, this one's pooping on the floor, this one's aggressive, this one's shy. I had to hire 3 dog walkers to get it done. And now if that's your experience, now you tell people, you can't have dogs without dog walkers. You have too many problems. This is going wrong, that going wrong. When we all know, they're like, no, you could have kept 1 dog or 2 dogs, and that's manageable. And that's the plant hobby. When you go way into it and you've got really high-powered light, you've got tons of fertilizer, and you have 1 billion plants, and you live, eat, and breathe plants, CO2 injection makes sense. When you're the 98% of other people that's a normal hobbyist, you don't need CO2 injection. That's why I'm able to show you in different videos, like, look at this, the plant's purling. We're not injecting CO2. Part of it is a problem because we reinforce that unintentionally. When you come into our store, you see plants and they have CO2 injection. When you go to a warehouse, show videos of CO2 injection. Why? Because there's 8,000 potted plants at the warehouse. If we don't put CO2 in, it gets gobbled up too quickly because there's 8,000 plants in that system. Same thing at the store. In that 40 breeder, we have it so that pots of plants are as close together as they can. You don't do that density in an aquarium normally. With that density, they use up the CO2, then we run into a problem where they can't grow. And we're trying to grow them optimally because they don't stay there very long, they sell. So all of that reinforces this is what you should be doing, when the reality is no, you shouldn't necessarily be copying what goes on at your fish store or in our videos or anything, because that's not the setting you have at home or you even want. That's why I don't run any CO2 in my tanks, because I don't need to, because I don't run crazy high densities. And the few plants that kind of require it, the reason they require it is because they use so much CO2 to grow that when they run out, they really struggle. So, that's where you get like dwarf baby tears. It can be grown without, but most people say it requires it. And it's like, well, it just depends. Co-op needs to make a little squeezy, easy green stress ball. Yeah. It's on the to-do list, like swag and other stuff. My fear is that we go to have other stuff made, and because I don't test those products all the time, like what if I just release like a super crappy stress ball? Because like my brain never stops thinking of like, well, what if we make this stress ball and we know that if you have fish, there's like an 82% chance you own a dog or a cat, and it turns out this stress ball is toxic to dogs and cats when they chew on it. Like, I would have so many things in the back of my mind going that it stresses me out to launch products I don't know enough about. Mossballs coming back? I don't know when they're coming back. I haven't really inquired at all. So I don't know. I'm not in the know on like, yeah, it turns out another 3 weeks or anything. I have no idea. I would imagine that being that the source was tainted, I just spit on myself. Being that the source is tainted, they have to start growing them in a different pond / lake or whatever they're going to do. So you're planning on going back to Peru this year? I hope so. Yes. Right now, I think we've booked a trip that's just going to be Aquarium Co-op staff. Well, not staff, but like, I think it's going to be, right now, so far confirmed, we have Zenzo, myself, Dean, and Randy. Possibly Jimmy. Robert's going to have a baby, so he can't go. But we're trying to keep a trip small. And the reason being is we've had other YouTubers and that kind of stuff be on the trip before. And it's one of those things like there's too many people and cameras to get good shots. You know, so I know like one shot we really missed was when, you know, basically what happened was I paid for extra days on the trip, right? I wanted to go see where the collectors were and all of this. I paid for all of it. Other YouTubers were able to go. They didn't pay, by the way, just us. And they were forceful, got their cameras up in there, and you know, it's like a small group of like local people there. And then like my camera literally couldn't even get in there. So by the time they were done with that, you can't tell them like, yeah, do everything again. So you guys just 100% missed out on the content. And then like it went out on a smaller channel and they didn't film it in high enough quality, and so it didn't get the attention it should have gotten. So this time we're trying to make it so that basically everyone is wearing like a GoPro and has a camera for Aquarium Co-op. All that footage will collate together to make the best videos we can of what we actually experience, instead of people segmenting, you know, like, oh yeah, well, they're going to do this, they're going to do this, they're going to do this, and no one share the footage to make a better experience for you guys. So we basically have paid to rent the whole boat, which is, it's going to be expensive. I think to give you guys a perspective of what this takes. So on YouTube, we make somewhere between $20,000 and $24,000 a month, right? And we're going in August. Basically, all that money is going to go to this trip. It's going to cost about $20,000 in plane tickets and the boat rental and the crew that's got to be there and all of that. So that's why when I say like, we'll never make that money back from the videos. Like if we make, let's say we're lucky to make 4 videos and each one of them makes $1,000, we're going to be negative $16,000. Now, I still really enjoy myself, which is great. And I think the knowledge of being able to see corridors on sharp substrates and all of these other things is worth it to get out there into the public. And so we have to kind of use these resources. And it's good because it still cost us like that much, well, not that much money, because we went, like, let's say 2 years ago we went, it cost us like $10,000, right? So we're bringing more people and we're not sharing the boat, so to speak. But as YouTube ad revenue and stuff grows and membership grows, we can do crazier things like, okay, well, maybe we could rent for 2 weeks instead and get even more footage for you guys next year when it's like, okay, we're making more, the club's bigger, all of that. So we have to kind of temper it with what can we actually afford, because the fish stores and online sales are slow during the summer, but that's the time when you go travel. So it's this weird thing of making sure we have enough money without running out of money, especially when everything's going up in price. And yeah, so a trip like that for probably 4 videos, it's averaging probably the cost of about $5,000 a video and a bunch of people's time. So we scheduled it so that it wouldn't interfere with the new club, right? So we want to make sure we have the speaker and everything. So a lot of stuff we got to make sure it happens correctly. Yeah, and we thought about trying to invite, you know, should we invite like a member or anything like that? The problem we found, and the more people that are on a boat, the less the footage is usable. There's always someone being political or swearing or just like walking in front of the camera. There's like everybody affects the way the footage is going to come out. And so it seems like this selfish thing, but I honestly asked everyone of like, should we try to get more people? Should we do this? And we all think that the actual content will be better the less people, because it also slows it down, right? So if you got 4 people, maybe 4 people and a guy and a pecky pecky can go. 5 people, you have to take 2 pecky peckies, which is the boat with a motor to drive you somewhere, right? So we're trying to keep it to be a nimble crew to get where we want to go. And also, one of the biggest things was we only got votes, right? So you show up, or before the tour, everyone votes on what they want to collect, right? And so you had Dean, myself, and Randy. And then you have like 5 other people. Well, 5 other people, they wanted a Pistos, and what happened to my camera? My camera just shut off. Huh. Oh, now it's back? My camera just like took a nap. I don't know what that is. Anyway, so you had 5 people voting, not against us, but everyone votes for what they want, right? And so I wanted Amazon puffers. I thought it'd be cool to like see stingrays and plecos and that kind of stuff. And then there was other people that wanted Achilles and a Pistos and that. And so you're voting. So now, as Aquarium Co-op, we can vote of like, what do we think would be cool for the viewers? I think it'd be cool to see Amazon puffers because we like puffers. I think it would be super cool to see stuff we hadn't seen in the past. I want to go to some more remote places. So there's also voting. Like, so there's what do you guys want to try and collect? Like we kind of know where that is. And then there's also, there's like, okay, we can go to this place where we know there's going to be this, or we can go to this place we've never been and we don't know what fish are there. Dean and I are kind of like, let's go to where we've never been before and see if there's new fish species, where a lot of other people are like, no, I want to go here and get this. And so now we will have 100% control of like, yeah, let's go find something that's maybe never been found before. But it also, 80% of the time, we'll be like, check it out, there's some black tetras, that's it. Oh. But that's how you find these new things that no one's ever seen before. So we're hoping. That's all we can do. We can hope. All right. I've been told to wait to dose Easy Green for 24 hours after using Prime during a water change. Is there any truth to that? No, I dose them at the same time. Doesn't matter. You could probably get a scientist to convince me like, well, it's 4% more effective if you do. Like, okay, but ain't nobody got time for that. Not at a store, not at a warehouse, like any of that kind of stuff. Like, you know, we use and design the products like a hobbyist is going to use it. A hobbyist is going to do a water change. They're going to squirt some chlorinator in there, and then they're going to squirt anything else needs to go in and fill it back up. That's what you do. I agree. Going to unknown places are much more interesting. Only if we find something. Otherwise, it becomes a lot of yeah, wasted a day there. That wasn't so cool. But it could be. I mean, that's where we like when we found the freshwater sponges in the trough where you basically pee and poop in a hole in the ground, and then the water. So in Peru, if you guys are new to the channel, you haven't seen that video. In Peru, a lot of times when you're actually in the jungle, a bathroom will be like a little wooden structure with a hole, and then that hole falls into a channel they've diverted from the river that goes back in. And so you just imagine like you're playing sandcastles on the beach, and you're like, oh, I'll dig a trench and the water will come in, right? Well, where that is, like toilet paper and all the bathroom stuff goes down there, but that's where the sponges were thriving, like the actual freshwater sponges. So stuff like that, going off the beaten path, I thought was cool to document and just look at versus like, actually being in the jungle. There's so much to look at, so. Do I plan to take any fish home from Peru? I'm really going to try not to. If we find something really cool we think we can actually breed, sure. But I don't. It's a lot of work when it comes back home, and like I still have those fish I haven't bred yet, so I've still got stuff to do before I feel like I'm worthy of new stuff. If we could find something that really made sense, sure, I'll put it in Dean's hands. But I want to focus on, part of it is too, the more fish you bring back, the slower the crew is, right? So, like filming, I want to get underwater shots. I want to do all that kind of stuff and film it. But actually collecting the fish and sorting them and doing all that doesn't make for great content. Like showing it in a net and be like, cool, look what we saw next. But, okay, sorting it out, who's getting this, who's taking what, carrying it back, lots of heavy buckets, it slows everything down. So, yeah, I won't be collecting a ton to bring back unless there's just something It's really special. I could be tempted, like I'm thinking about right now, like it might be hard to turn down Amazon puffers that I collected myself. Like that's pretty cool, but I'll try not to because I can order them. I don't need to slow everything down for that. We're going to Peru in August, early August, I think. Maybe mid-August? It won't be late August because we have to do the club event. Is my goal to inspire new fish store owners with your content? No. No. It's to inspire the hobby. Like, I don't hold anything back, so people can full on copy the path to success I've had, if it'll work in their environment, which I don't know. But it's not to inspire, because I think if most fish stores were looking to be inspired, it's real easy to make a better fish store. You're like, look at this, it's Nordstrom's. Look how nice it is. I should do that for a fish store. But I think building the hobby naturally does that. Like if I make hobbyists better in any way, it'll grow. There'll be more dollars out there being spent. It allows fish stores to elevate themselves if they choose to. You know, honestly, there's like probably at least half fish store owners that are so content where they are, they have no interest in changing what they're doing. They just don't. Like they're making enough money or whatever. I don't know what their motivation is, or they're burnt out or whatever. But yeah, most people get to a point where they're just satisfied. How often do we carry the Apisto Super Red? Like Super Red Cockatoides? Almost 365 days a year. Like I'm sure we run out a couple of times, but that's one of our almost always in stock fish for the most part. Have I bred pea puffers? I myself haven't raised the fry, but they scatter eggs, and you can get them with a gravel vac, and then look in the bucket and you'll find a lot of eggs. They breed all the time. Can you get away with sponge-only filters with Mabuna semi-heavily stocked aquariums? Definitely. When I was breeding Africans, I pretty much only used sponge filters. And you can definitely use power filters and stuff, but there is no difference. Like this much sponge in a canister versus a sponge filter versus a hang-on-back is that much sponge. There can only be one aquarium co-op. I had a dream last night that I was starting another one. I don't know why. It was also in Washington, by the way. How do I balance the tank after removing CO2? A major outbreak at the moment of algae. Well, the way I would probably start it is measuring your nitrates. If they're elevated, you know you've got excess nutrients in the water. I would dial back how much dial back how much nutrients you're putting in. I would also take a look at lighting. Like maybe, you know, I usually land somewhere around 10 hours-ish. So if you're above that, maybe dial it back a little bit. Now, it's kind of a catch-22, right? If your nitrates are super high and you were at 10 hours, you could up it to like 12, and that might actually help a little bit. But I like to slow things down. And in a perfect world, I want to have plenty of time to react. So I would move it back to like 10 hours, and then I would move back fertilizers to match that. So I've got plenty of wiggle room to work with. And it's going to take some time. I mean, you just ripped out a major portion of that ecosystem by removing CO2. Number 2, no. I haven't said number 2 no in a long time. I'll probably fish. I'll probably film a unboxing one of these days. I don't know when, but I need an aquarium co-op in Hawaii. Well, good news is Zenzo has lots of family in Hawaii, and we'll definitely do an event there at some point. One idea I had, because I was trying to think of, like, we didn't go to Aquashella, right? And I was like, what do I want events for Aquarium Co-op to look like if we show up at Aquashella or that kind of stuff? I kind of don't want to do the just standard, like, shake your hand 7,000 times, because that is really hard for me to get motivated to do. So what I'm thinking instead, possibly, what if we not flew in, that sounds weird. What if we ordered up from like Amazon a ping pong table to be our booth? And our booth is either we'll do this like like fish nerd ping pong tournaments, or play against me or Zenzo or whoever. Just have some fun, because ping pong's really fun. Even if you're not good, doesn't matter. You just find someone else who's not good, and it's equally as fun. And then we just like give it away. Like, yeah, put your name in the raffle if you're going to be here at the end of the event, and whoever's name we pick, you get to bring home this ping pong table, and maybe we'll sign it because it'd be hilarious or something. But trying to mix it up. Like, yeah, we can still give stuff away and shirts and all of that or whatever we do, but the just the meet and greet. I want to find, is it a Q&A panel? Is it, because I don't want to keep facilitating. Wait 45 minutes to spend 2 minutes with Corey. Like, that's not a great thing either. So yeah, you don't need to be good to have fun at playing ping pong. Zenzo and Dean and I, when we play ping pong, we end up laughing so hard it hurts. Because it just, like, so we have a house rule that anything that bounces off the ceiling counts. And some of the ultimate, no one's done it yet. This skylight, if you can hit it up in there and have it come back down on the table, because it's slightly off to the side, it's been close. But yeah, it's pretty fun. Arm wrestling with Zenzo. Yeah, that dude's a beast. I'm hoping, my only hope is that I'll be like on the same level, I'm hoping, cardio-wise in Peru. Because Zenzo says he hates cardio. He likes to lift and all of that, but Peru is all about tiny little stabilizer muscles and cardio, because no two steps are ever flat-footed. You're always on a root, in sinking mud, whatever it is. Like, it's brutal. So he's going to change his workout schedule. And I only work out with, is it just calisthenics? I don't know what they call it, but basically I'm always trying to do that, and I basically am never, when I work out with a trainer, it's been over a year since I've ever sat or like worked on a machine. It's always free weight, free farmer's carries, everything. We try to load everything on one side, so you're always off balance, because Peru, you just got like, oh, I've got all my camera equipment here, I've got a net or a bucket of water with fish or whatever, and as hard as you can make it, the more likely I won't die in Peru. How much do puffers typically eat in a day? One dime-sized snail per puffer. Pea puffers, yeah. Yeah, that would be all right. Make sure their belly button's a little rotund, basically, is what I would look for. Do a speaking tour, like American Idol's tour. Yeah, we've thought about it. Yeah, with me, Dean, Zenzo, and Irene. Rachel literally wouldn't be involved. She hates me, so that will never happen. But yeah, we've thought about putting together like an RV type of thing, and then planning out basically when events are back on. One of the ideas I have, which I'm not committing to yet, is kind of what we did a few years ago, where Jimmy and I traveled and we hit like the Catfish Convention, then we stopped at Gary Lang's, then we did another thing, hit Greg Sage, then drove home. We could put more people in that van or RV or whatever it's going to be, and hit, we might be able to hit a couple of things in a row. But, I'll let Zenzo coordinate. The biggest problem is coordinating all of that, of like, okay, who can afford to take that much time off? What other obligations do we have? What are the events that could line up? What else could we do? Yeah. How do you introduce them to the tank? I'm missing the first part of that. What do you think about Proflora Bio for plants? I don't know what Proflora Bio is. Proflora Bio. Oh, let's see here. I'll take you along. Obviously, it's weird when you see nothing. So I'm looking at this. So to me, and I've tested this quite a bit, this is just a reactionary CO2 system. My personal opinion, I think this is a better DIY project than it is a buying project, because you can just use, yeast and sugar, and a CO2 bottle, like a 2-liter bottle, and you can basically make this reaction happen. These ones, which we tested from Zis and stuff, something similar like this, they use some acids and stuff to make it happen a little more reliable. But I'm of the camp of like either super DIY or no CO2, or go to a full CO2 system. This in-between thing, because yeah, it's like 30 euros, which is probably like 45 bucks. And then you have to keep rebuying their like refill packets, like whatever this stuff is. You know, probably one of their, yeah. This is probably the acid right here. My guess. I don't know. I haven't read enough about it, but I feel like either go for it or just don't go for it. That right in the middle is like, you just always kind of like, it's better, I think, but not great. Who said it? If I don't have enemies, you aren't doing something right? I don't know. Could be. It's always, I don't know. Everyone, not everyone. There's a lot of drama in the YouTube scene. Everyone's casually offending other people apparently. So the way I go about it is I remind myself, I think of bands typically. Every band that's ever done well, for as many people that like them, there's many people that hate them. And they were successful, and later in life, maybe they get recognized for what they actually meant to that scene or whatever. And that's the thing, is like, I'm sure plenty of people get angry with half the stuff I say or whatever I do, but in the totality of what Aquariumcoop will have done over the course of its business life, I hope this leaves a long, good, lasting legacy of like, look what we did, look what we, or what we helped do, right? So, yeah, it is what it is. You know, I think one of the other things I'll touch on is everyone assumes that just being a YouTuber means you're going to like other people. That's just not the case, you know. It's like go to a school and there's a class of 30 people, you might like 5, right? You're all doing the same thing, you know, and you know, part of it could start with like, oh, I never sat down, had a drink with them. I don't drink. I don't smoke. I don't do drugs. I don't drink coffee, right? Like, so a lot of that just alienates me, you know, and naturally, or I don't go spend time with people. It's like, well, I got 200 fans in line. I'm not just going to go, you know. And a lot of the, you know, look at a lot of the creators. How much time are they actually spending with fans? Almost none. Most creators, you know, and there are some that do spend a lot. I'm not going to say none, but a lot of them, you know, they're there to experience the event. Where I take it the other way is, no. I'm here to work. Like, I'm working here because if I want to experience something, then I won't be part of this whole, like, I have a booth. Instead, I will go as an attendee. Like, I might just go as an attendee. Well, I probably will go as an attendee to, like, the American Library Association convention. Now, we might do a dinner and everyone can come, but I don't want to set up a booth. Like, they always want to know, like, do you want to sell stuff? Do you want to do this? Do you want to do that? Like, no. I don't want to do any of that. I'm trying to be a nerd like everybody else. But when I do go to Aqua Experience and Aquashell and those kind of things, we've already invested $10,000, $15,000 to bring product in and bring booth props and do all this stuff that I have to work. It would be a gross misuse of the funds that you guys help facilitate with memberships and watching videos and all that if I didn't put that money to work and make sure that I sign every shirt, make sure that I hand out the Easy Green, make sure I spend time with the kids, make sure I spend time with you because you drove 8 hours. Yeah, it's my obligation. I'm straight edge. Yeah, I really wish I liked coffee. I mean, I want that morning ritual thing. I just don't have it. I don't like tea either. I try. My wife loves tea. You know, Jimmy loves coffee. Everyone around me, but me, I'm just like, oh, it tastes terrible. Even when I tried every type of like espresso and coffee I could get at the Fluval booth in Germany because it was like free, and I was like, sweet, let me try this you know, like cappuccino. Let me try this mocha. Let me try this, and I was like, oh, it's like bare. I had to get so much like cream and sugar into it. It was like 10 parts cream and sugar, 1 part coffee, and I just kept asking myself, why would you drink this instead of a milkshake? All right. Cold glass of milk. Cold glass of milk is legit too. I like chocolate milk, but lately, what's my go-to lately is Propel, like 0-calorie fake Gatorade stuff. It just tastes amazing to me. It tastes, I don't know if I was telling someone else this, but it tastes like Crystal Light used to taste back in the day. I used to love, like growing up, Crystal Light, like lemonade and all that, tasted amazing. Just add water. It's great. And then they changed them and it tasted terrible. But now this Propel stuff reminds me of that, and I love the taste of it. Like, my favorite thing was playing baseball in the backyard with my cousins, and you'd just be dying from the heat. Then you come in and drink ice cold Crystal Light. Oof, nothing better is like a 14-year-old at grandma's house. You just may not like hot drinks. I do not like hot drinks. Yeah, it could be. I mean, I'm not a fan of hot chocolate either. Yeah. I will drink broth, though, but not really in the morning. Yeah, Crystal Light Pink Lemonade. I used to drink a ton of that. And then they changed something. It was not good. Uh-oh. My granddaughter loves pizza crust. Corey called them pizza bones. Oh, no. And now they're all calling it? Great. I love it. They are the pizza bones. I love when, well, what I always find comical to myself is that, like, until I got on the internet in this fashion, my whole family's always called them pizza bones. I didn't know that other people didn't call them pizza bones. So it's hilarious to learn, like, wait, you mean this whole time I've ever said a pizza bone in my life, everyone else just didn't tell me I'm a weirdo? Awesome. Everyone's nodding their head, yeah, pizza bone. What's this guy talking about? Yeah, I'm drinking, what flavor is this? This is kiwi strawberry, is what I've been loading up lately. And then I also get the raspberry strawberry, the Propel. It's both real good. Speaking of which, I had pineapple pizza on Friday. Terrible. The pizza was amazing. I had to pick off the pineapple. I had one slice of pineapple pizza. We have my nerd night where we play board games, and there's one guy, he used to work at Pizza Hut way back in the day, and he makes the best pizza. It's amazing. And we always beg him to make pizza because he does it better than anything you can buy. Money can't buy this pizza. And so it takes him like hours to make it or whatever. He's got to make the dough, do everything. And one of them made was pineapple, and I was super let down. I was like, damn it, I'm going to have a piece of pineapple. And then I had a piece of the man pizza, as he called it. And the meat was like this thick. It had like every type of meat on it. The pineapple one was better, but the pineapple was still terrible. So I flicked that off to the side, and it was amazing. Everything but the pineapple was really good. My daughter, who's 28 now, always called them pizza bones when she was growing up. See? Yeah. True intellectuals of the world call pizza crust pizza bones. Everybody knows this. Oh, man. All right. Now we're on a food tangent again. As all streams devolve to. Oh, man. Otter Creek Aquatics, your logo is so cute. I agree. His logo is awesome. I haven't watched any of his videos in a while. I've been lax on watching the YouTubes. If you speak about plants in a harder water tank, do you expect the plants to change the water parameters very much? Yeah, so if you don't do water changes, they're going to consume calcium and other minerals to grow, and they'll make your water softer. But as far as how easy it is to grow plants, I've been having a great time growing plants. I think having more nutrients is easier, so I'm actually digging it. Casual Aquatics phone's about to die. Angelfish with rainbow fish cichlids. Angelfish and rainbow cichlids. Could it work? Yeah. Yeah, it's pretty easy combo. Rainbow cichlids are just kind of cool. They're not sold very often, but they're pretty neat fish. I've kept them. I think you could, well, and you should, obviously, we're not talking like a 20-gallon tank. I'm guessing like a 55-gallon aquarium should work. Tips on moving multiple tanks for an hour and a half. I'm thinking 2 mini USB air pumps and sponge filters for 17-gallon buckets with substrate from a seasoned tank. Sounds like you're making it really hard. I don't know the scope of how many fish and all of that. I would use 5-gallon buckets. I would use USB air pumps. I would try and see if I can split it into 2 or 3 air stones. You only need the tiniest bit of air going in there, really, right? And then the substrate, just put the substrate in a bucket. It'll stay wet enough and the bacteria will stay alive. But those 17-gallon like rope bucket totes, those things are brutal to move around. They're sloshing. I like 5-gallon buckets halfway filled with water, basically, with a little bit of air. I mean, you can put a lot of air, but a little bit, that's all you need is a little bit of air. And it depends. Like, don't put 8 Oscars in one bucket. Like, I don't know what type of fish. I'm guessing community fish. But you can put quite a few tetras and all that kind of stuff in there. I think a 5-minute intermission on the hour is great. Hope Corey sees this. I could try that. If I was going to do that, I need to put a segment together, either a commercial or something. Because there's a lot of people that will listen to this after the fact. Like, if you don't know, we have the Aquariumcoop app, and you can listen to it as a podcast form and do all of that. I wouldn't mind having like a refill, like, grab another drink. You guys can get a snack, use the restroom. Because I would have held out another 20 minutes. I just would have been like, oh, God, I'm going to pee my pants for 20 minutes. Then I would have gone to the bathroom. Yeah. I like Dean commercials. Dean's commercials are awesome because he's selling our stuff in the cringiest way possible, but somehow he gets away with it. And I'm always just like, oh, geez, because I'm afraid you guys think that I'm putting him up to it. And I'm not. I'm always like, oh, Dean, tone it down, buddy. You're like a walking commercial. And he's like, we got to pay for it all, right? And I'm like, true enough, friend, true enough. We do have to pay for it all. So I do enjoy when he does it because, I don't know, I always feel guilty. Like, even when I mention my own products, you have to like sell your stuff, but I always dwell on the feedback of like, this guy's a walking commercial. Like, oh, dang, how do I tone it down? Halftime show. Ooh, I like that. I wonder, yes, so member, viewer, home show, those two play together. What if I set up a thing where you guys could submit like a 5-minute clip and I proof it, and then we could have that play at the intermission. So the people that don't take an intermission, or like, because I know a lot of you right now, you're just like baking or cooking or cleaning or working on your aquariums, and like you're taking breaks when you need them. So I don't want it to just be like screen goes black for 5 minutes. But if you could watch maybe someone's video or something, so we'll think about that. That'll be something I'll get Zenzo working on. Like, what can we fill in an intermission? I like the commercial thing though, because then that's kind of like, hey, you guys asked for an intermission. Here's a commercial, and because then maybe one day we'll get like Taco Bell playing the 5-minute commercial or something. Oh, if we do a halftime show, it better be a puppy parade. See, now it's spinning out of control. What's the difference between your crushed coral and what I can get elsewhere when I search for crushed coral? Not a whole lot, honestly. Crushed coral is kind of crushed coral. There's a few different, no, mostly crushed coral is crushed coral. You can get laterite and that kind of stuff, but for the most part, ours is just expensive because we're shipping a pound of crushed coral, and it doesn't make sense any other way. So, yeah. Two orders from the co-op, and you made an Aquahuna purchase using your 5% discount? Thank you. We make money from all of that. Yes. Promote smaller YouTubers with good content for halftime. So, on the surface, Dan, that seems like an amazing idea. However, in practice, that only makes more enemies for us. Because here's what happens. Okay, so for instance, I'll use The Secret History Living in Your Aquarium as an example. Alex is a local guy. He does history about aquariums. It's a cool and unique channel. But I've never collaborated with the guy. I've never hired the guy. I've never worked with the guy. And the reason is, early on, I was like, look, you got to get to my level before I'm going to collaborate with you. And then I spelled that out. What does that look like? You have to stop filming in 720p live stream on your phone. In the example I gave, and this is years ago, he was making a video about the history of shrimp. And instead of editing in the information he found online about it, he used a cell phone to record it. So imagine you're looking at a laptop and I'm talking to the phone and I'm going, look at this thing right here, instead of doing that. And it was in 720p, which is kind of grainy, and the audio needed some work. So my advice was, get your audio and film in more than 720, and we can do something together. He's never done that, even years to this day, and likes to throw me under the bus like I'm a mean guy, right? And the reason being is I don't want to take the clout that we have on Aquariumcoop and be like, hey, you should check this out. The information is cool and unique, but it needs to jump one level up in standard, in my opinion. And so I am collaborating with other, like I've got a YouTuber with like less than 1,000 subscribers. I'm going to be on their podcast next week. I'll share that. It's a high enough quality, right? But what happens is every person we deny, or let's say we have 50 people that say, hey, I want to be in there, and we can only do, oh, that's going to be a year's worth, and oh, you choose them over me? Are they better than me? It makes enemies. And so, yeah, get good. That's pretty much the statement of like, I try to help people and I go, look, your content, I get it, right? It's got its own niche, but, and the craziest part for me is, the phone that Alex is using will literally shoot 1080 because he'll do it sometimes, right? Now, live streaming, if you live stream from a phone, like Lucas Bretz, for instance, he's also another one. When you live stream from a phone, it will only ever do 720p, right? There are ways to hack it, though, so that you can use a desktop or a laptop computer, and your phone will transfer 1080p. You just plug in the cord, you use this. Like, it takes another day. Basically, you got to spend a day to learn how to do it, and then your content is elevated to such a bigger, better place. And then one $15 microphone. Now, you could say, well, Corey, you need to put your money where your mouth is. If you've ever watched Fish Room Fever and Chattanooga Ed, we sent them $200 live streaming cameras each. If you watched Danny's Aquariums, we sent him a headset, right? Same with Flynn Fish Forum. We put our money, we send this equipment out to try to make people better, right? Yeah, I think even like the Corvus Oskin show, the microphone he uses, it's on loan, like permanent loan from us. The Shure SM7B, that's a $400 microphone. The Aquarius podcast, I've loaned more there, right? And I just think the biggest obligation we have to a viewer is give the best audio possible and as good of visual as we can. It's a visual format. And I think the tough love that I give of like, you got to step it up a level, knowing that your equipment can do that is, yeah. I think that's the bare minimum of like, I don't want to send you guys to something that's done, I don't want to say poorly, it's not poorly, but not to the best of its ability. I know Alex could do better because he's done it. Some of his videos he'll put out in 1080 and it totally makes sense. Like, just do that all the time, buddy. I'm glad you guys work with Irene. She's golden. Yes. She's a great, she's a great creator and a good employee. Like, that's, my goal is just to take over the YouTube world, really the entire world, by just hiring great creators that are into fish and then want to work for our company. It takes a long time. I mean, it took me like, 3 years to get Zenzo? But, sometimes, like Zenzo at the time, he was only like 10 or 15K. You kind of have to watch people evolve, see how they handle situations. Do they get into controversial stuff? Don't they? I try to avoid controversy as much as possible. Like, I know my job every week, run Aquarium Co-op and present some information to the viewers. That's my goal every week, and it doesn't change. Collabing with Aquarium Co-op is a privilege, not a right. That's true. There's a lot of people that approach that kind of differently. We get hit all the time by entrepreneurial podcasts and all that stuff, and they're like, I don't understand. You haven't booked with us yet. And I'm like, I don't want to be on your show. Like, why not? Like, because it's kind of an unwritten rule, like in the entrepreneur scene, because Gary Vee and all that kind of stuff, I talk about, like, you should be on everything you possibly can. It's like, everything takes time, though. And for me, I have to have meetings with YouTube. I have to have shows put on for you guys. I have to meet with employees. Like, I schedule out meetings. We have meetings like the chairs are out. Why? Because we had a meeting. So everything for me is kind of, I have to weigh it. I have to weigh, like, at this point, YouTube will pay me like $200 to sit there for an hour just to be like, what do I think of this feature? And I have to tell them, like, you don't understand. I don't have time for that. Like, you got to get me into the beta program or make me more involved. I can't just give you feedback on whether you think a YouTube currency is going to work. You have every right to expect whatever standard. And my standard is not high. It's not like I only collab with people doing 8K or anything like that. It's just, I want it so that, it's no different than if I told you all to go buy something and it all, buy a fish online and it all dies. I'm going to look bad, right? So I know no matter what, part of my reputation is always on the line, and I don't want to waste it if you guys go somewhere and you're like, I didn't like that, right? So I try to, I try to temper expectations and that kind of stuff. My hair always looks great. All right, I'm going to give you the secret. You guys ready for the fourth secret of the stream? So half the reason, like if I'm ever wearing headphones, so sometimes I have to get up and have a meeting in the morning before I go live, right? If I wear my headphones for too long, I'll keep like moving them. And once I move them back like that, it forces my hair to stay up and it'll just like look stupid. So even though I have alerts that it is useful, half the time I'm like, oh gosh, I better wear that. I don't have time to go take a shower and fix my hair. And this live stream is going to live in eternity, so yeah. And I didn't shave today either. I got extra scruff going on. Who knows? All right. Went to Petco today. They finally have product again. That's good to hear, especially if that's like your only source. Can we upgrade the Murphy cam quality? Yes and no. So the problem we have with the Murphy cam is that it runs on like a security cam thing, and it makes it super duper easy to display that on the website. Now, if I want to do something different, which I could do, it takes work. But I'd have to set up a computer and a better quality camera, and then I might have to stream it to like Twitch and then embed Twitch to do it. It is on the list of like the 4 billion things I want to do. It's like somewhere right here, and I might do it at any point. But I just haven't done it yet. It's always like, well, this thing's on fire, or I could upgrade Murphy's camera. I better put out the fire. But I do kind of want to get a really, really good camera on that, like a 4K camera, always streaming, have them looking super awesome. But yeah, the part of it is it's all an order of operations of like what makes sense. The whole goal actually right now, expand the store, which it's not going so well so far, but expand the store, get Murphy a larger tank, one that's taller so that it fits the frame better, and then put the high quality camera there. Because right now it's really easy to crop the security camera that's there. So so it would be fantastic to see Murphy in 4K. That is a 4K security camera, but it will only allow you to stream it for free at 1080. Well, they don't have if they had a paid option, I would do that too. It is a paid camera, but they don't have an option to like stream it out in 4K. Mostly for 4K, you have to hardwire it, and that security camera system doesn't have hardwiring. So it is what it is. But Stacy Brannon, welcome. Welcome. Yeah, now that Zenzo, some people met Zenzo at the Aquatic Experience today and yesterday. He'll be flying back. We've got he's got some meetings and some teams. We're working on some promotional stuff and graphics for the club. We still need to design probably like a logo. There's all kinds of stuff we need to do, but we're moving forward on a lot of things for the club. So, I know right now there's like a ramp up period of like, I don't even get any club benefits till like, what is it, the 15th or the 23rd? But then they're going to be every month, and we're just not rushing things out. Like the YouTube integration for a discount supposedly is working, but we don't want to launch it without really making sure it's as seamless as possible. So that might be within the next, well, it's going to be like 3 weeks. The developer, we had a head developer on it that's technical enough to do this and working with it. They're on vacation for 2 weeks. And when they get back, then we can really thoroughly test it, then launch it, basically, is where we're at. But YouTube, it just took a long time to get through YouTube's program, basically. And you gotta get certified, and you gotta do all these things. And every time we'd be waiting on them, and now we're past through all that. So, what types of cichlids will go great with blood parrots besides blood parrots? Severums go really well. You could probably do Nicaraguanese. That's a really cool fish that their eggs don't stick, so they actually lay them in a bowl. Kind of a rarer fish. Well, not rare, just not super common. Oscars. You could probably do fire mouse. You could do the true parrot cichlid. What other ones? I mean, there's like a billion more. Those are the ones that's off my head, though. Hi, Corey. Should I email Candy about the clown loach question? Well, I can read the one I see it right above. I just bought 3 the other day. 2 died and 1 is thriving. Only symptom they had was loss of equilibrium. Any ideas why? Are clowns really that sensitive? Shouldn't be. Everything that's like this, where emailing me is not the greatest thing, because there's already 4 billion questions that come in that I basically ignore, and either Rob or Candy has to answer them, or we're showing you a video. The best possible thing is to take a question like that and take it to the forum, because my question is instantly like, I need a picture, I need all your water parameters, where'd you buy them from, what size were they, what were you feeding them, what are their symptoms, did you notice any lateral line erosion? Like, I need all that information to go, okay, here's what I actually think went on. Did you, like you bought 3 the other day, 2 died today and 1 is thriving. Were there meds in the water? Maybe the meds killed them. Like, do you have an air stone? What was the temperature? And from there, I can actually go, okay, well, here's what I would have done. I would have brought them in, kept them at 82 degrees, keep them a little bit warmer, let them settle in. Was there anything else in the tank that could have been annoying them? I'd probably start deworming them. How skinny were they? Did they have pinched bellies to begin with? And all of that becomes a good basis to actually get to the bottom of it. Because in an email, I won't be able to get to that because it's too hard to attach the picture, and it's back and forth, and it's jamming up customer service. But on a forum, plus you'll get 10 other people that chime in and know just as much as I do about clown loaches, going, oh, well, here's this. And they can keep the conversation going. So maybe I hit you with all those questions in the morning, during the day, a bunch of other people do that, and then at night, I chime back in. So, yeah, so airstone, yes, temp 80, and no meds. Like, we're still not any closer, though. There could be, you have to keep going down the rabbit hole. If there's 1,000 things it can be, we eliminated 3, right? And that's where it's going to be much better to outsource and just like as much info. And a lot of times a picture would be like, oh, it's right there, that's the problem. And it could also be that, I would also ask you, like, how are the ones doing at the store? Ask the place you bought them, right? What were they feeding them? Were they having any problems? And just because they say they don't doesn't mean they didn't. But there could be a lot of stuff going on. And that's the thing, right? Is in an email like that, you're going to get kind of a generic response, like, could be a million things, here's this, this, and this, and then you would go like, it's not those. And that's kind of where it would end. If you want a true discussion on what it might have been, the forum is a great place to do that, because it's back and forth and it's ongoing until we either get to, we went through 1,000 things, it's none of those, we'll never be able to explain it. Or it was thing number 522, like, oh, you didn't realize that? Like, oh, you were injecting CO2 and the pH was too low, or, oh, there was not enough oxygen there, or it got, it was shocked in transport, a lot of things. Oof, we're after 1 o'clock. That means technically done. Well, we'll be back next week, as we always are, I hope. I think the video coming out this week is going to be about the 230-gallon aquarium. Dean and I spent a day working on stuff, well, multiple days, I think. Probably I don't know if that one will be multiple days worth of filming or just 1 day of shenanigans. We glued in like a background, and we got a tank all ready to go for the new secret pet. So you can try to figure out what it is. Yeah, I got to film some more videos this week. And, oh yeah, buy those auto feeders. By the way, we're probably going to run out of those auto feeders. We only brought in 1,400. So at the time we start working with the auto feeder, like, we only had like 1,400 members, right? So that was a long time ago. And so we're like, well, let's buy one for like every member, and we want to make sure they work and all that. So we put in the order, they make them, blah, blah, they finally get here. And now we've already sold like almost 400 of them. So there's only 1,000 left. And we already know that, like, there's probably going to be a delay before we get them restocked. So, just bear with us. Like, buy them if you want or don't, but realize, well, we're getting them as fast as we can. Shipping is a bear right now. And everything's kind of like that, because we're not trying to spend extra money, like buying extra. We do have a whole container of sponge filters, another 20-foot arriving Monday. So I'm going to spend Monday unloading. It takes like 2 to 3 hours to unload, and then more hours. So I spent the whole day like moving stuff around with other people. So we should be good on sponge filters, but a lot of other stuff. We're trying to not put stuff on the water that costs 15 grand right now. So we're like, oh, can we wait? Like, what if it goes down? It could go up too. We could be like, oh my gosh, it's 18 grand now or something, but really hoping it goes down a little bit. And so, yeah. Hamster? Katie would love it if we got more hamsters. So, all right. Yeah. I'll hang out on the forum as I always do, and yeah, ask your questions there. By the way, you can also come and ask questions an hour before we go live. We typically do that here in the chat. I don't always get there right at an hour. Sometimes like I'm 10 minutes late or whatever, and I have to step away sometimes to get things ready. But for the most part, I like to hang out with you guys, and I'm enjoying it. And I still am like super pumped for what's to come from the club. Like every day, I'm like, this is getting even better. Like this is gonna be like it's gonna be unstoppable. I'm pretty sure because we already have a huge member base. We're already lining up. I think once some people actually see some of these speakers, it's gonna catch on like wildfire. Of like, oh my gosh, for $5 I get to see this and that, and every month there's gonna be a new speaker and there's a new benefit, and yeah, I like it. So, all right, guys, I'm actually gonna call it quits now and maybe go find some lunch. And it's raining, so now walking the dogs. Thank you. That's all I can say is thank you very much. Thank you for supporting us in all the ways that you do. And 4 new members, it says right here today. Awesome. So hopefully Zenzo's flying home safely, and the rest of the Aquashella crew have an easy teardown. I know it's a long weekend for especially like LR Bretts. He brings fish and a lot of people there, a lot of friends. So hopefully we'll make the next one. If not, we'll see you online.